Thank you very much, Paul. This afternoon we start looking at the financial health of South African households and individuals, as data by the National Credit Regulator shows that demand for consumer credit marginally slowed in the second quarter, with the gross debtors book showing no big signs of deterioration in areas. The big interest rate cuts that followed the pandemic shock spurred a sharp rise in demand for credit as the economy gradually reopened, but the pace of increase is now slowing down as interest rates rise. After hitting a record high in the first quarter, the number of new credit applications was broadly unchanged at just over 13 million in the second quarter. Bongani Gwexe is the supervisor at the National Credit Regulator, and he joins us now to unpack the latest data. Mr. Gwexe, thank you very much for joining us. Give us the highlights of what this latest data shows, because from a layman's perspective, it shows that the debt levels are rising in South Africa, although there are a lot of rejections as well in terms of the credit applications.
Yes, thank you for having us. I think the main issue that we've noticed in the data this quarter is a slight reduction on the new credit that was granted for the quarter April to June. This was mainly due to secured vehicles because of the low floods that happened in KZN, which affected one of the manufacturers. So that had an impact in the numbers as a whole. As you indicated, when we look at the number of applications that come through, those ones, they seem to be increasing on a quarter, but the number of rejected consumers also is increasing at a high rate. Currently, it's about 67% of consumers are rejected, those who come through to apply for credit. In simpler terms, you will say 33 consumers get approved out of 100 when they apply for credit. That will be the main issue. But on the positive side, we see that on the mortgage side, consumers are still buying their houses in that one increased, although at a slight rate, but it increased on a quarter. Thank you.
Mr. Gwexe, let's talk about the extension of credit is usually viewed in a very good light. It means there's demand for credit out there. It's good for the economy. The rejection, however, means there's a cautious approach from financial service providers, because they believe that certain consumers are not going to be able to keep up with repayments. When you look at the data itself, which social class, because a lot of people are talking about those who are the middle class, who are actually mostly indebted and who actually apply for credit. Is it the middle class that applies for most credit, according to this latest data?
Yes, mainly consumers who are, because of the affordability assessment requirements, those who will be applying for credit will be mainly coming from the middle class section. But what we have noticed, almost all LSMs are applying for credit, and in all levels, one or two people will be rejected there. From the National Credit Regulator point of view, we are saying as long as they apply affordability regulations, meaning whoever is getting credit is because they qualify for it, and also they can be in a position to repay it. What we don't want to see is people getting credit at a later stage. They are, I will use the term, they are blacklisted, or they've got a negative listing at the credit bureaus. We don't want that. Everyone who's getting credit, they must get it because they can afford to repay it, and also they met affordability requirements.
Let's talk about the two other balances, if you can put it that way. We've seen that unsecured credit has increased in that particular quarter. And of course, you've talked about mortgages that have also increased. But secured credit has also increased. Are you secure in your own assessment as the NCR in terms of how the public engages with their finances, looking at all all the work that the National Credit Regulator has actually put in to protect consumers?
Yes, we are, because what we have noticed is a lot of credit providers now, they are approving consumers who can repay their debts, as I said earlier. But also, what we have noticed, consumers, they are starting to understand the process of budgeting and also taking credit because they need it. They don't take credit just for fun. We are still encouraging consumers even now to say, use credit as your last option. Don't, because you need, let's say, there's a popular phone now that everyone is buying. Don't take credit for that. Take credit because it's something that will add value in your life. It's either you're buying a house or you're buying a car that will help you generate income out of that. There are multiple phones that can assist you to generate income from them. Don't go for the most expensive one that you won't be able to repay at the end of the day. So as a credit regulator, we would like no consumers who's over-indebted, actually. But as we know the reality, that won't be possible. But we say those who are over-indebted, consult your credit provider, talk to them so that they can try and assist you to restructure your debt, or consult a registered debt counselor who can assist you to restructure your debts.
What we've also seen, Mr. Gwexe, is that as interest rates rise, as we are seeing a lot of these credit applications, fraud is also very high during that time. And it's something that the National Credit Regulator has spoken about. How the members of the public avoid being victims to fraud where their identity is stolen, because in this instance where we have interest rates that are rising, there are people who are actually taking advantage. For some odd reason, there is an increase in the instances of fraud. So how do they prevent themselves from becoming victims?
Well, as a regulator, we say make sure you get your free credit report. Each consumer is entitled to a free credit report from all registered credit bureaus. So make sure you stay closer to your credit report. You check it to make sure no one has decided to be you, to go out there, take credit on your behalf. In particular now, as you indicated, when interest rates are going up, we know fraud and ID theft will be on the rise. So look out for your property, your ID, keep it close to you, and also monitor your credit records, your reports. Make sure you get it, you check it all the time, you go through it thoroughly so that you will know you are safe at all times.
Mr. Bongani Gwexe is a supervisor at the National Credit Regulator, talking to us this afternoon about the 14% rise in new credit applications in the second quarter, a sign of how much households are in debt and are actually in financial strain. But most of these applications have been rejected in that particular quarter.